TOA community, YouTube, how's everybody doing out there? Robert Linkle, trainingtheolderadult.com. Welcome to the channel. If you like the content, please click the bell, subscribe, share, like, leave a comment, anything to help us improve the vision, eyes, and likes and numbers of our community and our viewing of our channel here would be greatly appreciated. I want to talk to you today about some great news. This is now the second article in this week that we have found with doctors coming out to support the idea of resistance training and how it can improve your quality of life and your overall and decrease your overall mortality rate. And though when people hear this, if you exercise and you hear this, you're like, this is not news. How does everybody not know this already? To the general public, this is news. Like nobody knows this, okay? And that's kind of the big deal, is we need somebody in a white coat to stand up and say, I believe it's in your best interest, ma'am and sir, to get in the weight room and lift some weights 2 to 3 times a week, and to get out there and walk and or rock or run 2 to 3 times a week, and eat like a grown-up and sleep like you want to live and hydrate your body, and you'll live a long and healthy life. And apparently, if that dork gets up there in a white coat and says it, everybody will listen. But if I say it wearing a Live Bearded t-shirt, nobody seems to give a damn except for all of you. So number one, thank you for trusting me, because I forgot my white coat today. However, we do have some support. We do have some folks here that know what they're talking about, and they're pushing the narrative, they're pushing the story. So let's dive into it. Okay. This is like a cut and paste version because it's from the New York Times and I am not a subscriber. So one of my clients cut the article and pasted it in here, but I'm giving credit where credit is due. You can see the link up there at the top, okay? New York Times, this just came out. Basically, exciting news, consensus is building among experts that both strength training and cardio is important for longevity. Holy cow. Okay, let's get into it a little bit deeper. Okay, here we go. Rachel Fairbanks talking about regular physical activity has many known health benefits, et cetera, a new study, et cetera, came up that and stated that regularly doing both 1 to 3 hours of weekly aerobic exercise and 1 to 2 weekly strength training sessions was associated with an even lower mortality risk. Okay, so as we go a little bit further, it goes to show us that 416,000 people were surveyed between 1997 and 2014. Participants would fill out in this survey every day what they did, how they felt, etc. As it went through, they removed anybody who was in a car accident or had any kind of accidental deaths, etc. as they went through, but they looked at their overall risk factors. You can read a little bit more about this as you go into it further. But the awesome part was, I think I missed it, is that if you were engaging in the 1 to 3 hours of mild to vigorous aerobic training, you decreased your risk of mortality by 15%. Now, if you were doing resistance training, you reduced it by 27%. And if you were doing both of the cardiovascular aerobic training and resistance training, you reduced your overall mortality risk by 40%. 40%, that's a big number, okay? That's a big number. That's a significant find that not only do you have a much less risk, one of my other clients, I told it earlier, and they're like, does that mean ever? Like a 40% less chance? No. It just means like for the average death and the length of such, like you're going to live a longer, healthier, happier life by doing both of these things. And your mortality risk, I don't know how they calculate it, but it's with a low mortality number means you're going to die earlier, right? That's bad news. We want to live ideally as long as possible. So as they dove into this a little bit further, he's got a great quote on here that talks about quality of life. Where is it? And their ability to maintain. You will, here we go. Aging, improve, maintaining a high quality of life. You will function at a much higher level for longer if you have good muscle strength. The basic things like progressive, where was it? He talked about opening pickle jars and being able to carry the groceries. All really good stuff, like things that people can do, that most people under the age of 50 can do. But as you start to go through the strength training protocol, or as you start to increase, here we go, adjust your increase, Nope, I don't have it on there. It's in there somewhere. Anyhow, they talk about the ability to resistance train and develop that strength, maintain that strength. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean that you have to become old and frail and not capable and able of doing this. Yes, you are going to have muscular mass loss as you age. Like, there's no strength training program out there that is going to help you get more muscle mass from 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, and so on, and you just keep getting more and more muscular. What is out there, though, is the ability to put on a pretty good amount of muscle mass and maintain that for a pretty long period of time, let's say up towards 50, maybe even close to 60, before it does start to taper off. But if you have such a high amount of muscle mass, I'm not talking about being a huge, bulky, muscle-bound bodybuilder that everybody thinks isn't mobile and capable of doing anything, which is completely false, by the way. Bodybuilders are some of the most agile and nimble and mobile people that I have met. They just look big and bulky. That's how they move. But once they get into the weight room and start moving around, you'll be shocked how flexible they are. Anyhow, the assumption that is going to be that you have to be this old frail body and that you are naturally going to lose all this muscle mass, and we are all going to end up with sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass, with osteopenia / osteoporosis, soft bones, and we're going to be, round in the shoulder, lordotic curves. We're going to be frozen shoulders. We're going to be taking these small wobbly little steps and be huge fall risks. It is not the case. If you resistance train and increase your strength and your bone density, and then you do your aerobics on the other side and improve your cardiovascular health and keep your heart and your lungs healthy, that increased oxygenated blood flow in the healthy cardiovascular system will feed your brain. The muscles will feed your brain. Your endorphins will feed your mood. Your body, as long as you are eating well, sleeping well, hydrating, recovering, doing all the things that good, long-minded adults want to do, meaning they want to be here for a long period of time. You're treating yourself well and giving your body the nutrients and nourishing it in the way that it needs to be able to live a long, healthy life. You'll be here for a long time. This is not rocket science. Apparently, it's just regular science, but it does show you that, and we have proof now, and we have doctors that are supporting it, so people will get it through their thick little skulls, or maybe not so thick skulls, that this is important. This is a big deal. You don't go on a diet. You don't go on a fitness challenge where you're going to just do this for a certain period of time, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and then I've made it, I've accomplished it, I'm fit, I'm healthy, now that I've got it, I'm going to keep it. It literally does not work like that. You have a bucket. I've used this analogy before. You have a bucket, and in that bucket, you are putting in all the hard work up to about age 30 to 35. All your hard work is going in. You're working out, eating well, sleeping, fit, muscles, blah, 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 putting it all in there, and your bucket is really, really full, and it's awesome. And then right around 30 to 35, somebody puts a hole in that bucket. Okay, and that hole is created by age. And as you're aging, it's just going to continue to drain out. So now, if I continue to work hard and smart and appropriate and feed more good things into that bucket, I can still increase what's inside my bucket, even though it's draining. And that can last till about 40, 45, maybe even 50. And then right around 50, as much as I put in will be draining out. So then I can maintain for a while, 5, maybe 10 years. And then, and that's pushing it, okay, maybe 5 years. And then at some point, you're going to start to lose. Like, it just naturally, as much hard work as you put in, you can't keep up with the demands of the bucket and the drain, and we're slowly going to start losing what's in that bucket. But those that don't train, just dump that bucket out. Just dump it out. It's gone. You're 60 years old. You can't do anything. You are completely helpless in the sense that someone else has to help take care of you. And we see this. I see this all the time. 60-year-olds that look like they're 100. And then I've seen 90-year-olds that look like they're 50 because they keep themselves in such good shape. Maybe that's a stretch. 90-year-olds that look like they're 60, okay, 65. Like, the whole idea is, if you treat your body well and you put in the work, you'll last a long time. Your body will continue to work. But the problem is, you got to put the work in, and people don't want to do it. But this type of research shows you don't have to spend hours in the gym. They're talking about 2 to 3 hours of actual work per week. They didn't say 2 to 3 hours of resistance training. They said 2 to 3 sessions. Those average sessions were 20 to 30 minutes. So let's say 2 of those, 30 minutes. There's an hour. And then they said between 1 and 3 hours of aerobics. So let's on the deep end put 3. So you have 3 hours of aerobics and 1 hour of resistance training, 4 hours. Okay, 4 hours a week. There's 168 hours in the week. So you've got 164 other hours. Let's cut out a third of that for sleep. Okay, so now you're at what, 100 hours? Okay, a little less, 90 hours, somewhere in there. 90 hours of your life. Can you find me 4? Can you find me 4 where you can do these little things that are going to make you live longer, be healthier, be happier? Do you see what I'm talking about? I think a lot of us, we hear somebody say, like me, you need to exercise, you need to resistance train, you need to do some cardiovascular work. And they think, I got to go to the gym for 90 minutes every day. I got to lift weights for 45 and hop on the cardio machines for 45. And I have to do that 7 days a week. And I can never eat anything that I like ever again. And I can only drink water and I have to sleep and I can't watch movies at night and blue lights are going to kill me. And I got to put on my sunblock and it's like all these things are out to get us. Everything is trying to hurt us and harm us and make us live less. And that's not what we're talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a small investment of your time done in a very smart way. 2 half-hour sessions a week of resistance training, 2 half-hour sessions of cardiovascular work to start. Walking. Go for a walk. I'd love it if you'd wear a backpack or a vest. Carry weight. That would be awesome. Rucking. Start with those 2 hours, 4 30-minute sessions, 2 half hours of resistance, 2 half hours of walking/rucking. Start with that and then slowly progress it. And if you can do 3 and 3, fantastic. If those 3 and 3 turn into 45 minutes and maybe an hour, 6 hours out of your life to live 20 years longer, to always be in control of your own health, meaning you don't need someone else to take care of you. Think of the burden that puts on others. Think of the burden it puts on your family. Think of the mental mindset of family members as they watch older people fade away and no longer be mentally who they envisioned them as because all they can remember were the last 2 to 3 months of them withering away in bed, miserable and unhappy and wishing they weren't there anymore. I'm not just making that up. I have lived that. And it's miserable. And it's hard for me to get that image out of my mind because there were so many years prior to that that were so great and such high quality. And I have to make myself think back to that time. But our minds are most present, most recent. What's the last thing? What's the most recent thing that we just had that we remember? And it's a pretty impactful moment, somebody passing. And we're going there every day or every other day to see them. And they're really unhappy and uncomfortable and mad. And that's what you get stuck with, man. So don't be that. Don't be the statistic. Don't be that negative experience for someone. Put in this time, if not for yourself, for others. But really, you should do this for yourself. You should love yourself. I teach Greek mythology to my kids. I read to them nightly, but we have class every week. And the one that we just read about was Echo and Narcissus, okay? And Echo had an issue with like telling stories and distracting people. And so she got punished. And she's like, oh, you like to distract people with your stories. Well, the only word you can say now is the last word that you hear someone else say. So if you'd say, hello over there, all she could say back is there, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? And all you would get is doing, right? So that's where Echo came from. And the other side of this is Narcissus. Narcissus was so in love with himself. He saw himself in the water, the reflection, and he couldn't take his eyes off of himself. And so eventually he withered away and he died laying there watching himself. So in love with himself that he literally died because he couldn't look away. And so with all these stories, I try to teach my kids the lesson. And so I asked Peyton, what's the lesson here with Narcissus? And she goes, not to love yourself. And I'm like, no, that's not it. I want you to love yourself. I want you to love yourself. But I want you to be obsessed, so obsessed that nothing else matters. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying to be a narcissist with this, which is where the word narcissist comes from, is from Narcissus, also the flower, etc. Okay? So mindset, and my point is to love yourself enough where you want to improve your quality of life and maintain it. And let's say you're 60 or 70 hearing this for the first time. It is not too late. Maybe it's too late to get into, Olympic level fitness levels, right? Maybe that ship has sailed. But if you can go from using a walker to not, if you could go from not being able to go on 10-minute walks to, if you could go from not being able to climb your own stairs to being able to climb your own stairs, all of those are small victories that are big improvements for quality of life. So it's never too late. It is never too late. You can always improve until your day comes. When Father Time or whatever the saying is, comes and he's undefeated. Like it's gonna be over at some point. But we can decide up to that point, how good of health do we want to have? This is our own doing. And if this information, if anything like this helps you, inspires you, gets you going, it was totally worth it. One person hears this and goes, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a shot. It's totally worth it. And if I can help you, comment down below. I got you. Please share this. Please get it out to your family members. Let them know. There's great research to support this, and we're not asking for a ton of time in return. However, I bet you, if you start doing what I just talked about, 2 half hours, do that with all of your best efforts, okay? Like truly give me a great 2-hour effort every week. 2 half hours of resistance training, 2 half hours of walking. Do that to your absolute best abilities for 2 weeks, maybe 3, and then tell me you don't feel better. If you can do that, completely honest and do it, then I'll eat crow or whatever the saying is, right? But I guarantee you won't. I guarantee you'll do that and you'll go, I feel great. I feel so much better. My hips feel like butter, right? Like everything feels better. You're sleeping better. Your mood is better. Your engagement with other people is better. Everything's better. Trust. I've been there myself. And I help all my clients do this. You can do it too. And once you experience that and you feel it and you're like, wow, I really do feel better, then you're like, what if I leveled this up? Would I feel even better? And the answer is yes, right? Obviously to a point where you're training 3 hours a day and you're going to overtrain and get hurt. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, yes, you get into an hour of exercise every day, you're going to feel fantastic. And it's going to be worth your investment. So much to the point where you look forward to doing it. You pop out of bed because you're excited to go because you know you're going to feel better after. When you go, last thought, when you go from a point of not being able to get up and move around well without the fear of falling to being able to get up and move around, now you don't even think about falling anymore. That reduction of stress and emotion out of your body, number one, is fantastic for your health. That will help you live longer. But mentally, that is a massive victory. And that's one of those things that you will never take for granted. You won't forget, I couldn't do these kinds of things before and I was always afraid and now I don't even think about it. I can just go and do. You'll never forget that. And that's what will keep you motivated and keep you coming back. Any comments, questions, hit me up down below. Robert Linkle, trainingtheolderadult.com. I appreciate all your support. I love and appreciate all of you. We'll see you in the next one.